Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for those of you who are joining us. As you can see, people are popping in. Right now, you guys are all on mute. We would love to ask that you continue to stay on mute throughout the presentation, as you should have gotten a recording message that we are recording this as you entered, but we would love to make sure that that recording is as best as can be for everyone who couldn't join us today but did sign up for the event. You're more than welcome to put your cameras on if you would like to be a little bit more interactive. That would be great. No pressure there at all. There is a chat feature for our event down at the bottom of your screen. Most likely, depending on what device you're on, it could be a little bit different. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for turning on your video. So what we were going to do is I'm going to say hello to everyone right in the chat right now so that you can see that pop up. If there's any questions throughout our event, please feel free to utilize that chat. I'll be monitoring it, and Alicia and Warren can also see that too. So if there's anything going on, we'll be able to answer that either during the presentation or down at the end of the presentation. We'll do a formal Q&A, and everyone can feel free to participate. We just had a couple more people join us. Thank you all so much. Like we were mentioning, if you'd like to turn on your video, absolutely feel free. We would love to have you do that. There's a couple of tricks to Zoom for those of you who are joining us. If you would like to see everyone on your screen, you'll want to be in gallery view. That's in the top right corner, again, depending on what device you're on. You can toggle that back and forth between speaker view or gallery view. Speaker view may be the best suggestion as we start the presentation and hand it over to Warren and his team to talk through. They're going to do a little bit of screen sharing so that you can see a presentation that they have put together for all of you. And that, I think, is all the Zoom pieces that we need to talk about right up front. So now I'm going to officially introduce myself to all of you. My name is Tori Philbin. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations here at Endicott College. I am one of the co-chairs of the Homecoming and Family Weekend Committees. So this year, myself and Molly Buckley, who is the Assistant Director of Student Activities, set out to put together a virtual weekend for all of you since we unfortunately can't be at campus, which is, I'm looking outside. It's a beautiful day out, so thank you for taking the time to join us still on this Saturday. Hopefully, in the spring, we'll be able to get more people back to campus, definitely for next year for homecoming. But at the moment, this is the best we can do, and we're really excited to be able to have put on this homecoming and family weekend at home. So without further ado, you are all here to hear a little bit more about our international education office and our study abroad programs and everything in between. So with that, I'm going to formally hand this presentation over to Warren Jafarian, who's the Dean of that program.
Thank you so much, Tori. And thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through a little presentation about study abroad. And I think that's why you're all here today, and also to learn about some of the global programming and also the internship opportunities for your students. So the next slide I'll introduce, but we have James McGee, who is a business student, and he studied abroad in Madrid last year. And what he told us was that study abroad changed his life. And this is something that we hear time and again. We send hundreds of students overseas every year for a life-changing experience. 90% of our students come to the college and they don't have a passport. By the time that they leave, 40% have had a global experience. So it's really part of the culture of the institution, even during the pandemic now. So again, I'm Warren Jafarian. I'm the Dean of International Education. I've been here at Endicott now for 10 years. I had a 20-year career as a global vice president for one of the largest companies in the world, based in 11 different countries. I was in the Peace Corps. I also studied abroad in Africa, which then led me to do the Peace Corps. But that kind of led me here to Endicott, and really why I love working here. There's many reasons, but one of the reasons that I love working here is to be able to help shape the future of our world and our students and their experiences. And it's such a great opportunity. The way that we've structured our program, which we'll talk about, is just an amazing opportunity for all students to be able to have a study abroad experience or an internship or both, but by the time that they leave, they have a wider worldview. They're able to work with people from different cultures, and they have a new perspective on their majors. So let me turn it over now to Alicia, and she'll introduce herself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I want to echo Warren's words and say thank you so much for joining us. And we're excited to be able to talk to you about our department and study abroad and the opportunities. But my name is Alicia. I'm the study abroad advisor. And so I am closing in on 6 years here at Endicott. And I work with all of our students who are looking to go abroad for the traditional semester abroad, study abroad experience. But I also work with students who participate in our short-term faculty-led trips. So as I said to students yesterday, I was doing an info session over Zoom, and I said, I'm the one that's been emailing you. You're going to hear a lot from me, and it's not just the beginning part of the process. I'm very much with students all along the way. It's the start of the process. It's during the process, it's when they're abroad, and then when they come back. So I am in it with students for the long haul on each of their semesters that they choose to go abroad. And so I also studied abroad as an undergrad in London. And I think for me, one of the things that I say to students is I have come full circle, and I am the cliche that can sometimes happen, which is not a bad thing. I studied abroad. I remember coming back to where I did my undergrad and saying, I don't know how one does it, but one day everybody should go abroad, and I want to work with study abroad programs. And so here I am. And so my experience was one that led me to want to work to help students go abroad. So here we are.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. And thank you everyone again for being here today, taking time out of your schedule. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So today what I want to talk about is study abroad and international internships, and then talk about what we mean when we talk about international education, why it's important, where you can go, who can go, and how do we do it, right? So we'll just talk about all those points. And at any time, as Tori had said, please feel free to post a question in the chat. We also will have a more formal opportunity after the presentation. And then also what the multicultural programs are that we have on campus. So in terms of what, we can't make assumptions that everyone knows. And I have to be honest, before I came and studied abroad myself, but before I came to Endicott, I wasn't really fully clear on that. So I can't make any assumptions that everyone understands exactly how we do international education. So what it is, it's an academic experience overseas for credit. We don't send students overseas unless they can get credit for it, right? So we have approved, we vetted, and we have accredited partners. We're not sending students overseas so that they may or may not get credit at an institution that may or not be accredited. So we know where we're sending students, and we do that. One of the first filters we have is that we have close partnerships, but we also don't have partners in countries where there's a State Department travel warning. So for us, that's kind of that's the first filter. Is there a travel warning? If the student wants to go to do an internship in Honduras, we won't send them there because there's a travel warning there. So that's kind of the first filter for us. But especially now during COVID, we're really concerned with CDC, as we always have been, or the World Health Organization, regarding the types of vaccinations. And a few years ago, there was an Ebola outbreak in Africa, and we were concerned about that. Or there was another infectious disease in Costa Rica. And so these things we're always tracking, but especially now during the pandemic that we're facing, albeit the fact that we do have students abroad right now, we have 36 students overseas, but we're doing that in a way that it has students at the center of all that we do. So student health and safety is primary. And it always is throughout the whole process. So we do have 36 students overseas. There are the ones that are students that are in Italy, 30 of them. They got out of their 14-day quarantine tomorrow, and then they start their experience. So we are We're one of the few institutions that still has study abroad operating. And in March, we took very close care of our students to bring them back in a very sound and expeditious way. You know, we were very prudent about that, and we're prudent about what we're doing now and into the future. So we don't take students' lives and their health and safety in any kind of a cavalier way. We're doing everything in partnership, and we can do it because we have close partners overseas. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but you know, when you're talking about what study abroad, it's like Alicia had mentioned, we have 14-day faculty-led travel courses that typically happen in May after the end of classes or in January. We also have semester-long and one-year-long opportunities. So that's really what the what is, right? So that's for study abroad. And we also have for international internships, which our office manages. It's experiential learning abroad for credit. And as you well know, we have one of the best, if not the best, internship programs in the United States. We also help students to work and do their experiential learning overseas. And that's for what we call internship 100 and 200. Those are the 3-week experiences as a first or second year student. And also for the senior internship, we have a lot of students, increasing number. As our study abroad numbers increase, students are going on more faculty-led trips, they're going on more semester abroads, and then they're saying, well, let me do my internship overseas as well. So we can do that through 3 ways. One is we have terrific university partners. One example is Cork Institute of Technology in Cork, Ireland. There's over 30 American and multinational companies based in Cork, including Apple's largest campus outside of California, that students can do an internship there, and they can stay in our residence hall in Cork. They can also they can study abroad in the spring, stay over into part of the summer and into the fall. And if they do that, they'll then be able to get paid in their internship, live in the residence hall, and also have a diploma given by Cork Institute of Technology. So that's just one of the many opportunities, but through our global university partners. We also have global internship providers, and these are kind of third-party, not-for-profit organizations that help. They're a vehicle for students to be able to source viable internship opportunities. So these are all kind of approved and vetted, and they're aligned very much with the major of the student. They're not just fetching coffee as some internships do. These are very robust interns. And I'll tell you just one example was a student who worked in Ireland for a marketing company, and he was working on the new launch and rollout of Facebook's rebranding and reimaging. And so here he was working for ASA Marketing. He had to go up and make the pitch to Facebook of how they were handling that. So this is, you know, really groundbreaking experiences for many of the students. Then the last way to source an internship is by self-generated. So we work with the students looking first at the safety, and then also where they're going to live, how they're going to get from A to B, and how they're supported throughout the process. So that's a little bit about the internship process. This is an example of Caitlin Carey. I know I'm talking a lot about Ireland, but you know, we have an increasing presence there, and Caitlin Carey worked for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Dublin, and on the second day met the U.S. ambassador to Ireland. So it's a pretty phenomenal experience for students. But you know, the why about education abroad, it's developing what's called 21st century skills, right? So you want to be able to, our students need to have a world-class education at Endicott, which they are, have outstanding internships, but also be able to go abroad and learn how to work with other people from other cultures, or there are skills that you can be taught, you know, you can be trained in an organization, but the skills to how to work with people from different cultures or how to adapt and be flexible, these are things that have to be acquired, and our students do acquire these skills when they're overseas. Which, you know, there are many studies out there, but one of them is done by the Institute for International Education, which talks about how students who have had international experiences, they've expanded career possibilities. They have a long-term impact on their career progressions. And it's a key point of differentiation. You know, the student that stays back in Beverly versus the one who's studied abroad or done an internship overseas or both is going to be in that smaller stack of resumes and have a much greater opportunity, as they already do. We have a phenomenal success rate of placing students in jobs before they've even graduated, but it's even greater if you've had an international experience. So I think you're going to be a better citizen, but a better employee, and if you've had these experiences. So again, about the why, you know, you're gaining confidence, you're gaining flexibility. When I was a manager working in international business, I was looking for people who, you know, first and foremost, are you flexible? Are you very rigid? Do you have a smaller worldview, or are you able to, you know, go with the flow on things? You know, we had, if a student is, after they've studied abroad and they've gone through a myriad of issues, they're going to be less likely to, you know, have a panic attack if they've missed a flight on their first business trip going to Shanghai overseas, because they'll know how to deal with it. It's not a problem. Okay, I'll just go to the transfer desk. I'll talk to the person. They'll get me rebooked on the flight tomorrow, and they'll get me a hotel overnight. These are things that, you know, are acquired skills, but they're part of the toolkit that you need to be, you know, part of this global economy that we're living in. And it's not just if you want to have a job overseas. Basically, all business today is global, and all clients and customers are going to be international in some regard. But that flexibility and adaptability and the interpersonal skills and the wider worldview, this is really what we're trying to do, to have our students to be really well-rounded. So now I'm going to turn it over to Alicia, and she's going to talk to us about where students can either intern or study abroad.
Yes, so we like to present a visual representation, as opposed to saying we've got 31 locations spread across the world. We like to be able to show where these locations are. So our goal, so if you are looking at this here, and if you were to split this in thirds, you'd be able to find programs in each region of the world. Our goal is to not only cover the different regions, but to be able to have locations where all of our students can go abroad. So that's something that we'll touch upon for sure later. But we have, this is showing who our partners are, where they are, and they are a combination of direct partners, they are exchange partners, and they are provider organizations. And, you know, one of the things Warren had said at the very beginning was, we have close partnerships and we know who we're working with. And so our goal is to have that ability to say, all right, where have our students gone? Where are they going? Who can we reach out to and get immediate responses if we have questions or if we need something? All of our programs have English is the language that the courses are taught in. Certainly students can go abroad and they can take courses in another language if they are proficient enough. But we like to be able to say to students, for instance, we had a student who studied in Thailand in the spring semester. There wasn't a worry of, what is your knowledge of the Thai language? Can you go there? Our sister campus, CIS Endicott International, is in Madrid. You don't have to be fluent in Spanish in order to go there. So we ensure that our students will not run into that language barrier in the academic setting, though we certainly encourage them to learn the language. All of our partners provide housing, and depending on the program, there is some form of a meal plan. So there's not a question when students are going abroad of, will I get housing? Do I need to find my own accommodations? our agreement with our partners is that if Endicott students come to you, you will provide them with housing. The housing can vary. On-campus housing at Endicott is residence halls. The on-campus housing at Florence University of the Arts is apartments in the city center of Florence. So the housing itself might vary, but it is included. And the meal plan is ranging from a full meal plan to an equivalent of a 10 meal plan or a 5 meal plan. If there's a program that doesn't have one, students have fully equipped kitchens and they're going to the markets and the grocery stores and they're cooking for themselves. And one of the things that is really important for us is that the partners that we work with have an understanding of Endicott, of the Endicott student body. And so they know the type of student that we're sending to them. They know the type of questions that we will have, the expectations that we have, and they meet them. And that's really great because we don't have to send our students abroad with us wondering, or students or their families wondering, you know, how is this going to work? And how are the academics? And what are the services that are offered there? So when students go abroad, they have the amenities that are afforded to them while here in Beverly, and that transfers over to their location. And as I said at the start, it's something that we can reach out to our partners about very easily. We can pick up our office phones, we can pick up our cell phones, and we can shoot that text message, we can make that phone call, and we can very easily get in touch with who we need to.
Yeah. And we do and can intervene.
Yes.
We've intervened. Fortunately, we've never had any major issue, thankfully. But we did have the Charlie Hebdo terrorist attack 5 years ago, and we quickly were able to locate all of our students. And I can tell you, they weren't all at the universities where they were. They were all over. It was on the weekend, and they were literally all over. And we were able to quickly identify them. But we do intervene. We have, sometimes we get phone calls and the student has arrived in Florence, and that's an opportunity for some culture shock to set in because you're away from home for the first time, and smaller things can be much bigger. We had a young lady who called. She didn't have any hangers in her armoire when she checked in, and she called her mother. The mother called me. It was at an off hour, because the daughter arrived at like 9 o'clock. It was 3 a.m. here. I got a phone call from public safety. I called the mother. We talked about how we can resolve this, pretty quickly because we have residence assistants and all the rest of it. But we deal with everything, and it's not like some institutions. It's just different. It's not worse, but at some institutions, the student goes abroad and they don't really know where they are. They're not getting, they're not getting full credits coming back, and the students are on their own. Here, it's as if they're in Kennedy Hall or they're in Florence. We deal with them the same way, right? And so we're really a 24. So when I say 24/7, we're literally 24/7. My wife would prefer sometimes it's not 24/7, but we are. So we're kind of like Allstate. We're the good hands people. We're taking students and their lives very seriously and having wonderful experiences. So the who can study abroad, as Alicia pointed out, she talked about the 3 regions of the world. All majors can, and this is one of the great things that Endicott that we've been able to do is work with the School of Nursing, for example. I don't know if there's any nurses or parents of nurses that are on this today, but we're one of the few institutions where nurses can study abroad. We worked with the curriculum with the School of Nursing, and they were able to offer different required courses in back-to-back semesters so that it would open up that opportunity for students. And nursing students now, out of the 8 Endicott academic schools, they're running at like number 3. So they're studying abroad in large numbers. But nursing and education, all majors, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Now, freshmen can travel on our short-term faculty-led trips, but for a semester away, which is typically 4 months, it's for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Now, seniors, they're doing their internship, but we still do. I just got an email the other day from a young woman who had already studied abroad as a junior, and she's interested to do it in the spring semester. As long as she works out that she's going to be able to graduate, and fulfill her major requirements, there's no problem. We'll make it happen. And I would say, on a similar note, there's sometimes a myth that because you study abroad, you're going to be behind a semester. That is never the case with Endicott. Never, never, never. If anything, you're much further ahead than the students who stayed back and didn't study abroad. But you're never behind because of an academic reason. Now, we did have a student one time who was down in Bondi Beach in Sydney. It's like being in Waikiki, and he failed a couple of classes. He spent too much time surfing and having a good time. But we can't account for that. But students are always ahead of the game because they've studied abroad. Now, we have different GPA requirements. Some of them are 2.5. Some go up to as high as 3.0. I think we might have one that's just a little bit higher than that. But in the main, our students who do study abroad, they're probably averaging around a 2.75 to a 3.0 anyway, so they're fine. But if someone has a 2.5, that's fine, and we'll work with them. And we do look at the conduct and recommendations. As long as someone hasn't had, any flagrant violations or anything that's been too recent before they've gone, we support. We're not in the business of trying to stop or prevent people from going overseas, but we are mindful of our responsibility to, just globally of the reputation of our institution, the reputation of our country. Want to be sending students that are, culturally appropriate overseas, and also that can do the work, because it's different from studying back here in the US. There are other cultural aspects you have to account for. In many universities around the world, they don't have as many assessment points as we do. They might have one midterm and a final. In Endicott, we probably have one assessment point every week, sometimes more than that, maybe a quiz or something else that you'd have to do. So, but that's the who. So we're trying to make it available to all students, and I think we've succeeded in that standpoint. So in terms of the how, maybe Alicia will walk us through that aspect.
Yes. So one of the things that is that we're really transparent about, and very proud of, is that it's really easy for Endicott students to go abroad. I think one of the biggest questions that I get from students and from parents, from family members is, well, how much is this going to cost? How do we pay for it? And what I say to students is the easiest and accurate way to answer that type of question right out of the gate, before they share information that's on the website that's public, there's no login required to view it, is students will receive their Endicott tuition bill as if they're going to be here in Beverly. It's going to be Endicott tuition, Endicott room, and Endicott board, their meal plan. All financial aid applies: scholarships, grants, loans, anything that a student might have while they're in Beverly, that is also applied to their semester abroad. And then the reason or sort of how that is possible is because first and foremost, that's not the way that all institutions work. There are many institutions that say, you want to go abroad, that's great, work with that school and make sure that you're getting everything paid and you're meeting their deadlines. By us charging the Endicott rates, by default, a student is now an Endicott student while they're abroad, which allows their Endicott aid to go with them. So that's how those things are connected. There are also some additional financial incentives. So we have some programs that will have additional airfare or scholarships included, which is pretty phenomenal. So we have 5 traditional semester abroad programs where if students go, they will receive some type of additional aid. This is not taking away and saying, well, you have this scholarship or you have this grant, so we're going to take this away because you're going to Cork and you get a $3,000 scholarship. It is whatever you receive, and then we're going to tell the bursar's office and the financial aid office, let's make sure we also adjust their tuition bill. So we have 3 locations that include a free round trip flight, which is booked. So Warren and I work with our travel agent to book this for students. Students are on a group flight, so they don't have to worry about booking. So everybody leaves Boston on the same day and returns from either Ireland, Italy, or Spain on the same day on the same flight. 2 of those come with a flight and a $3,000 scholarship. And then we have 2 locations that we don't pay for the flight, but we've included a $1,200 credit, airfare credit. And essentially that is us saying, we understand that you have to book a flight. We want to help you with that. So it's essentially a $1,200 scholarship, if you will. It's going to come right off of the tuition bill. And because we don't want to exclude our seniors and those that are interning, we've also said, if you're going to do an internship abroad, we want to make sure that we can help you out as well. So students that are doing that senior year semester long internship, they also qualify and will receive that additional $1,200 scholarship that is meant to offset the cost of a flight. And one of the main reasons why we did this is because sometimes something like this, a flight, an additional scholarship, can really make or break a decision for a student. So our goal is to be accessible, is to promote study abroad, yes, but we want to ensure that students have that ability to do so. We don't want to say, all right, well, you can't afford the flight, maybe that's going to be a tipping point, we're sorry. We want to make sure that it is going to increase that access, and we want to have students have that global experience and ensure that they don't feel that that's something that they were so close to being able to do, but unfortunately they couldn't do it.
Okay, just unmuted myself. All right. Thank you, Alicia. I think that, a lot of students will tell us that they've chose to come to Endicott sometimes directly because of, or in large part because of our study abroad program. So I think we, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we've made it so accessible and affordable and easy, and you get full Endicott credit, use your scholarships, and nurses and everyone else can study abroad. I mean, I think there's no reason why you wouldn't or couldn't study abroad. We've been named for U.S. News and World Report for universities, college and university who send students abroad. I think we were number 33. That's a testament to the culture that's been developed by students, getting a little bit outside their comfort zone, bringing some friends, and then it just kind of becomes part of what we do. And we align very closely with our academic majors. If we add a major like engineering, we then go and find study abroad opportunities for them. So, we don't want to be exclusive or excluding any of our majors. So the last slide we have talks about the Intercultural Club. And that is a club that is designed to help promote cultural awareness. It's for students to build, connections, people that are interested in the world, in business, in helping others, or just kind of honoring cultural diversity. It doesn't mean that it has to be international cultures. There are many cultures in the country, and so it's a home for international and also domestic students alike. So we meet on a weekly basis. I'm the faculty representative for the Intercultural Club. We're trying to just promote, for study abroad, but also for students that end up not studying. It's fine. It's really a place for students to kind of find a home, but then also give back. And one of the ways that we give back is through the Bikes for Cambodia program, which, often in developing countries, there are some barriers to education. And one of them in Cambodia is just access, getting from the village to the school. Not all villages have schools, and we asked, is international development, one of the key things is not to come with your own worldview and say, oh, you need X, Y, and Z. Ask them what they need, and they told us they needed bicycles. One of the things that they need in Cambodia is that they require that all school children have a $10 uniform. So not everyone has that $10, and there are students, when we sent some education students down to Cambodia, and they saw students that were peering in through the window trying to learn, and they were in street clothes, and our students asked the question, why aren't these students in the classroom? They said, well, they don't have the $10. So my worldview is, well, let's do a fundraiser for uniforms. When we asked the villagers, they said, no, they need bicycles first. So this is our Intercultural Club raised $600 last year for $25 a bicycle. So they were able to make a huge impact. So that's the kind of thing that they do. And that's, if you're able to provide a bicycle that now someone can get an education, you've changed someone's life. So that's our presentation. Thank you very much for your listening and taking your time out of your day. We greatly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you so much, both Warren and Alicia. This has been really great, really informational. And we did have a couple of questions come through. So I'm going to go back to the top a little bit. One of the first ones is in regard to the scholarships that you were discussing that help with airfare. Are those available to everyone participating in those particular programs, or is it just to those with financial need participating?
Yes, so those are for all students of anyone, really, right? So anyone, it's not just, I think when Alicia she was talking about if you have a scholarship, it's not that we're taking away or saying, oh, because you have a scholarship, you're not going to get this other incentive. It's over and above. So if you look at the net bill at the end of what you would, right? So let's say the tuition is X and then you have a scholarship. After that scholarship is calculated for, then we take off the additional incentive. All right. So it's not taking away from, or because you're financially needy, so to speak, that you don't. That was one of the great things that we were able to change about 10 years ago, is that if you had scholarships or financial aid, you were prevented from going abroad. So it ended up being like the haves were able to do it and the have-nots, so to speak, had more obstacles and barriers. So now we've kind of leveled the playing field and anyone can study abroad. And I think with the incentives, it's making even more accessible. But thank you for the question.
Great, thank you. That makes sense. Ruth and Jim, I hope that answered your question. A secondary question from both of them is just in regard to nursing students specifically. Are there any stipulations or requirements or kind of pieces of they can only study abroad for a certain amount of time or only in certain countries or programs? I know that their academic course load is obviously very rigorous and kind of set forth. So is there anything that changes if you're a nursing student?
Right, so I'll let Alicia take that one. We've been talking to the nursing school closely on this, and they have their own process and protocol, which Alicia will tell you about. But in addition to the semester long, I'll just say that the nursing students have a course, Nursing 315 is the number, it's Intercultural Nursing Program, where they take a semester long course and then there's a travel component to it. And because of COVID, we had to cancel the trip, but I think they were going to Guatemala. So, but they always have a nursing faculty-led trip that we help them run. But in addition to that, they have the semester long. But Alicia, why don't you talk to the process that the nursing school has, if you would?
Yeah, so nursing students, one of the, when Warren had said one of the things that sets Endicott apart from other schools when it comes to nursing majors and nursing students is that students have the ability to go abroad for a full semester. That was something that changed perhaps 3 years ago. And so essentially nursing students, they can go abroad for 1 semester in their junior year. So it's very specific timing. They can go either fall or spring. So they have the ability to choose which one they want to participate in, but it has to be their junior year. Academically, it is balanced between, if you are here in the fall, you are taking all of your nursing courses that you would need to do in your junior year to set you up to go abroad in the spring. And now your spring semester is fulfilling gen eds and electives, and then vice versa. So junior year, one semester, and your academics are sorted out with your advisor and with the deans within the School of Nursing. So it's very particular. And for that reason, the School of Nursing itself has their own rule, if you will. And that is, they require students to essentially say in advance, it's about a year in advance, and say, I want to study abroad. So right now, so last week we had conversations with the deans and some of the faculty within the School of Nursing, and students who want to go abroad for the next academic year, so fall 2021 and spring 2022, they will need to be declaring that soon. The reason for that, and the reason why there is the need to do that so far in advance, is because it's not only that balance of academics, but it's clinicals as well. So nursing students, they have that extra little bit of a requirement that says, I know, so if a student is a first year student and they say, I know I want to go abroad fall semester of my junior year, they're going to be asked in their sophomore year to declare that. And so there needs to be a balance. So we can't say, okay, 12 students can go abroad in the fall, but 30 can go abroad in the spring. So there is that need to balance out the numbers, the academics, the clinicals, and all of this stuff. It sounds complicated, but it is, we've had nursing students going abroad each semester since it was implemented about 3 years ago. So it's just more or less following the guidelines that are behind it. And once the student has identified and said, this is the semester I want to go, then it's just everything falls into place. But it is being able to say that earlier than other majors on campus would need to identify that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well,
You're welcome.
That looks
Nice
like
shirts, by the way.
Yeah, we got our
Yeah.
Ethnic shirts up.
Oh,
Very well done.
We're told to wear this.
I like the other color better.
Yeah. Good job, Jim.
oh my gosh, thank you. Well, Alicia, that actually leads into a question that a couple of people have on the chat too. So not about nursing students. When we're looking at the rest of our majors, how much forward planning needs to be done about going abroad? You know, what does the timeline look like from the time, if I want to go the spring of my junior year and I'm another major, when do I need to start thinking about that planning, and how long does that take?
So I'll take that one.
Okay.
So in general, well, we normally, under normal conditions, we would have a meeting with parents and students. That's a pre-departure meeting, okay? And before they were to go, and we would have it in the auditorium. And one time, in a couple semesters ago, a mother during the Q&A said, I'm really glad that you're doing this presentation about all these details, because my son just told me last week that he's studying abroad. So, you can do it pretty close before you go. We, for students who are going in the spring, our application are open until October 9th. For some destinations like Ireland, they don't need a visa until they're actually there. We could go past October 9th. But it all comes down to the sooner the better, right? So at the end of the day, you want to be able to know that you can take, if you're going abroad, you want to be able to take 1 or 2, possibly 3 courses in your major to continue towards your degree. But that also accounts for maybe having some gen ed electives, for example, right? So that you can take a chocolate lovers class in Florence that goes towards one of your gen eds, right? So you want to save some of these so that when you go abroad, you're not stuck having to take 5 classes in your major, right? And making sure that all the courses count, because there's a process called curricular mapping that we do. If your student has a starting line and an end line, and the end line is the diploma, there are different courses along the way that they have to take within their major. And some of those courses are kind of free, like a buffet. You can take what you want and it'll count towards something. You don't want to decide fall of your junior year that you want to go in the spring, and you don't have too much flexibility, right? So the great thing is that you sit down with your dean and you look at your degree audit, as it's called, and you look on our website, which I encourage all of you to do. It's studyabroad.endicott.edu. You can click on programs, and you can go down the list of our programs. And once you click on a program, let's say it's Florence University of the Arts, there are many different tabs down there, including the costs, including academics, et cetera. But on the academics tab, you will then link over to the course catalog for that institution, for example, and it'll show you all the classes, and you can get course descriptions, and the dean and the student will sit there and they'll try to match up what the core required course is and if it's a fit. One thing I would say is that Endicott, we're all about getting students have these experiences, and good enough is kind of our mantra. Close enough, I would say, and not being so strict that it has to be the exact same course, So that's kind of how the process works. But to answer the question, the sooner the better. Some students are diligent and they start looking at it in freshman year, but for junior year experience. But I would say freshman year would be great. Sophomore year for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the next questions is about the actual majors to locations for study abroad. Are there certain areas of the world and some of our partner institutions that are better suited for specific majors? And even if so, can a major still decide to go anywhere?
Yeah, so there are some destinations that are specific to certain majors. So one of them is Les Roches School of Hospitality Management, which is one of the, if not the best, one of the best hospitality hotel management schools. So that's for hospitality students. Now, there are students from business, because they have a lot of management courses, that could go there. If you're going to the International College of Management in Sydney, Australia, that's for business, hospitality, and also sport management. So there are places that students can go that are just kind of specific to different majors. But if you're a nursing major or an education major, you're not going to be taking any core required courses, because these are Massachusetts certified classes that they need to take. So you cannot take a specific class towards your major in nursing overseas, but you can take gen ed and some elective courses overseas. So that opens up you being able to go pretty much anywhere, except for those few exclusive places that you can go. But on our website, again, if you go to studyabroad.endicott.edu, there's a search feature, and you can put in by major, and then you can do a search to where you can go. But our portfolio of partners is changing, not too much. We've got 31 partners, but we have added a couple in the last semester. C Semester, for example, out of Woods Hole, Massachusetts, which is a 6-week based program for humanities and those interested in environmental science and the oceans, study of oceans. 6 weeks there on the Cape, and then you can sail down to the Caribbean or through to Hawaii, down to New Zealand. Of course, during COVID, things are changing a little bit, but all that to say that we are adding programs, and so there are new ones available all the time. But for certain majors like accounting, there are specific places where they can go. But Alicia has all of that at her fingertips, and she can, she does direct students and advises them. And we're never sending students to places that aren't going to support them and be the right place for them. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is, Tori, I think the very last part of the question is, I have, and I use this because I just had this conversation with a student this week, actually. So let's say if there is a location and a student is very set and said, you know what, I've always wanted to go to, and insert, I've always wanted to go to Greece. I've always wanted to go to Costa Rica, sort of like name that place. And they say, but my major isn't there. The way a student can go to those locations is tied to what Warren was saying earlier, which is when a student is starting that conversation about, or was starting that conversation and beginning the process. If a student is meeting with their advisor and they say, I want to go to Costa Rica, but my major isn't there, then that's the opportunity where students can go to, again, working with their dean and their advisor, if they can focus on having a semester where that is just gen eds and electives. So let's say if that student is an accounting major and they've had their heart set on going to Costa Rica, that would be nowhere on a list of locations I would provide to a student because they don't have those courses there. But if they have gen eds and electives available, they can still go to Costa Rica if they're fulfilling those. So just sort of that additional piece, because sometimes students have their heart set on a specific location, and that's my workaround. Let's see what gen eds and electives you have, because let's not count that particular location out just yet.
And one thing also further is that students may come to us and say, oh, I'd like to go to this destination, and it's not part of our portfolio. So we were very mindful about the programs that we have for all those reasons we talked about in one of the slides, being able to have that close proximity aligned to our ethos, and that students are on their path. In order to add a new program, it takes some time and some planning and some effort. There are some occasions where we're able to do that relatively quickly. We added the School for Field Studies, which is a real field-based program for environmental science and other biological science students. And one student wanted to add this, and it kind of fit nicely into our portfolio. We didn't have something that was kind of in the jungle, so to speak, and getting your hands dirty and doing this kind of analysis and study. So we added that program, but it has to make sense for a variety of majors in order for us to add it. But we don't want to just change how we're doing things for adding too many programs. It's not a competition to say, Michigan State has 300 different university partners, but how many students are actually going there, and could they pick up the phone and intervene if they needed to on behalf? So that's kind of where our orientation is.
Great. Well, Megan, I hope that answered your question. One of the last questions that came in is from Jennifer, who is wondering about the success rate of application acceptances for the programs to study abroad. Do you have those numbers?
Yeah, so it's 100%.
Even better.
Yeah, it's 100% if the student, maybe it's 99%. Okay? Let's say 99%. We have had students, not all students are alike. Sometimes students, some get into more trouble than others. And we have had to deny students the opportunity to study abroad because of their conduct. And, but it's never because of anything else other than really their conduct or their GPA. We might say, you know what, show us that you can get your GPA up above a certain, this semester, see if you show us you can get a 3.0, it'll be close enough, and I will intervene with the partner overseas, and we'll make it happen. So it might be deferring for a semester. Some cases we have had, and I think in the time I've been here, less than 5 students have we had to deny that opportunity, but there was pretty egregious stuff. And so I think that's the only time we would ever have to do that. But like I said earlier, we're in the business of making, people's lives different, for the better, life-changing opportunities, and everything. Every time we do a survey or students talk to us, it's something that will, and I know will stay with them for the rest of their lives in a positive way. So I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity. I know that we're coming up towards our hour, and certainly appreciate, again, you taking the time to learn about international education. Of course, Alicia and I feel like it's a very fundamental part, as does the college. I believe it's a fundamental part of an Endicott experience, and will just pay lasting dividends over a lifetime. So again, thank you so much. And if you ever need to contact us, you can go to studyabroad.endicott.edu. Our contact information is there. And we've made it very transparent, so you can determine down to the penny how much it's going to cost to go overseas.
Thank you very much. It was very informative.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Congratulations on the
joining us.
t-shirts.
We'll be buying more.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
Warren. Thank you,
Thank you
Alicia.
all. Take care.
Yes,
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you so much.
All
You're
right.
very welcome. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thanks everyone.